to the Hour of Lateral Thinking, heard weekly from New York City. I'm Janet Coleman.
I'm David Dozer.
The displaced playwright. Lateral thinking is sideways thinking. It unspools the mind.
It's not necessarily logical.
Its conclusions, if any, are unforeseen. As always, we will be joined by Chris Cerf, co-author with Henry Beard of Spinglish and Encyclopedia Paranoica, and on his own, A Skunk in My Bunk, compulsive writer and songsmith David Finkle, Maggie Paley, author of more than just the Book of the Penis, and audio engineer and musical perpetrator Bob Auld, to discuss candy. Now, I didn't come from a hardcore candy family. They were mostly cake people. But so that when I got to my freshman year, got to my dormitory and discovered that in the basement there was a candy machine, whoa, that was a new world for me. And they had new kinds of candy, too, because it was the Midwest, it was Ann Arbor, and they had stuff like, I don't know if any of you, basically being Easterners, except for David Dozer, a Pittsburgher, knows the candy bar Bun. Does anybody know it? It came in two flavors of chocolate, milk and dark chocolate.
And it was round.
And I think the other one that I first discovered there was the Heath bar. Now, does anybody know that one?
Yes, that one.
Sure. Absolutely.
Okay, so that kept me going for about 4 years, except for the times that the diet doctor put me on Dexedrine, which all of us girls were gobbling, and I think we still ate candy. But anyway, David, I tossed the candy cane to you.
Well, I grew up in a candy world. Grandma had a bowl of candy on the coffee table, and all the other relatives had. I remember Aunt Blanche and Aunt Marguerite lived together, and they had a big purple see-through a glass jar. You lifted the lid off, and there was all kinds of wrapped candy in there. And my whole economy was, but once I got to grade school, my father said, "You're getting 35 cents a week. That's so you can have a candy bar every day." So you make sure that I had 7 candy bars, or on a day if I wanted ice cream cone, that was also a nickel. So I knew what a candy bar was, and I earned them by actually living in that family with my father and mother. I deserved a candy bar every day, and I ate them too. That's early candy, yes.
Early candy?
Yes.
Early candy, Chris.
Yeah.
Do you have an early candy?
Do I?
Yes.
Yes, I do, actually, because my dad had a Hershey bar compulsion when he was writing, not at other times, but he had a column in Saturday Review and another one in This Week magazine in the Herald Tribune. And when he was writing those, he would munch on Hershey bars with almonds to the point where he would get boxes from the wholesaler. So he had huge yellow boxes filled with Hershey bars with almonds, which of course I craved. And I think he would give me one once in a while so that I would go away and not bother him while he was writing. And he would also assign me to watch the baseball game for him. And only when something good was happening would I come in and tell him that something was worth watching. So he'd come watch, and then maybe I'd get a Hershey bar then too.
So you were early addicted to the Hershey bar.
Well, yes, though I ended up loving Almond Joys, which were similar, except they had the coconut in there, too.
Right, well, that's a big difference, isn't it?
But my dad graduated to Mounds, which is how I learned about that. But I wanted the almonds that were gone, and I got them back with Almond Joys.
Right, that is a big subject, the difference between the Mounds and the Almond Joy.
A huge subject, a huge difference.
Right, it is a huge subject. Shall we leave it in abeyance until we hear about the guy who summered in Atlantic City, David Finkle? Satiate my curiosity.
It better have saltwater taffy in there is all I can say.
Yeah, did you? Did your family pull their teeth out on it?
That was the first thing I was going to say when I heard the word Atlantic City, because we summered in Atlantic City, and of course there was the taffy on the boardwalk. And the wonderful thing about the boardwalk taffy, and why can't I think of the kind of taffy it was called at the point? But they had a wonderful taffy pulling machine in the window, and you could just sit there being mesmerized by the taffy being pulled back and forth. But that was in the summers. In the winters, I really come from a candy family. We all love candy, and my mother was the one who bought the candy. So she was what we liked was we were influenced by her taste. And the first thing I have to mention is something called Wilbur Buds. Has anybody else ever heard of Wilbur Buds?
No.
Wilbur Buds were looked just like Hershey Kisses, only they were better, and they came from somewhere in Pennsylvania. And my mother would bring them in, and then she would hide them somewhere in the house because she wanted to make sure that she'd have candy when guests came. And then suddenly, the guests would be expected, and my mother would be racing around the house, opening drawers, opening closets, because she'd forget where she had hidden the Wilbur Buds. But we also had locally in Trenton. I think they were in Trenton. They were certainly nearby. Something called Fisher's Candy, and they would do assorted candies, and they were wonderful too, because you never knew what would be inside them until you bit into them. Or, in the case of our family friend Ronnie Rathhauser, who would come, and Ronnie always wanted to know what was going to be in them before she had one. So she would poke the bottom of a piece of candy with her thumb, and if she didn't like it, she'd put it back. So often we would be picking up a piece of candy to eat, and there would be the bottom would be assaulted.
But at least you knew what you were going to get, right?
So that's true.
That was an advantage. Yeah.
You didn't have to bite a piece of it off.
No, but I think that's all I'm going to say for now. But I'm craving candy so much right at the moment.
It's hard. It is an addict dream. So, Mag, were you a cake or candy or bagel, or were you a candy household?
No, we were not a candy household. I think we were a cake and pie household.
Right.
But I did, and also I became allergic to chocolate.
Whoa.
So I don't remember how that manifested itself. Probably with itching.
Hives and itching, right?
Hives and itching. Probably that was it.
Yeah.
So my main candy was things that you could suck on, like Charms and Lifesavers, sour balls, right.
Yeah. Those those are the kind of candies I remember being in my grandmother's house. My what do you call it? An aunt who never married. What are they called?
Maiden aunt.
My spinster or maiden aunt. Well, actually, a few of them intermittently. When one of them kept getting divorced and moving home with my grandmother. But they always had this kind of it seemed to me leftover, because it had an aroma, the aroma of stale hard candy, and they were in a dish of kind of fancy candy dish, and I knew they came from, I don't know, 2 months ago's Hadassah meeting. The leftover candies that the ladies brought home and served to their guests. But they were terrible, so I developed a real aversion to hard candy. But, David, I remember a period when your two diet items were sour balls and taco chips. Do you remember those days?
Me?
Yeah, you forgot
sour
it all,
balls
huh?
and taco chips. Wow.
Yeah.
I must have gotten really high from eating those.
You did.
And I'm so high I can't remember it.
That's
really?
exactly right.
That was actually a diet? Is that what you're saying, Janet? That David ate those to lose weight?
It was a diet that put him out to pasture.
Too high, too
high. He got
nearly
too high
touched
on
the
it.
sky.
I think it was for office work. It was the kind of thing that you could sustain yourself.
Oh, right.
In
Put it in your pocket.
Which is really...
Well, I ate a lot of lavender mints or whatever they're not mints. They're little purple...
violets?
Violet, yeah. I ate roll after roll of those. Yeah.
And aren't those for drunks to improve their breath? They're like sen.
Well, a lot of candy is for drunks, yeah, to improve their breath. Sen, for instance, which isn't even sweet. Well, as a kid, I thought that was just on the candy counter. Why not have that too? It was like a very bitter licorice.
Yes, it was delicious. It had do you remember everybody have violets? Does anybody remember violet candies?
They sold them at newsstands all over New York.
All over New York. You could buy your cigarettes and your violets at the same time.
What I used to buy at newsstands was Necco wafer. Necco.
Oh,
that-
yeah,
yeah.
Necco
Yeah.
wafers. Now, that kind of reminds me, the Necco wafer. Are you talking about the variety color?
Oh,
you know,
yes. The
Oh,
many
yeah.
different
That's
colors.
that's the way they started. Yeah,
And what
They
was
looked
the
like big pills, didn't you think? I always thought
Yeah.
they did.
yeah.
big sugar pills? Right, right. Did you have a favorite color?
I didn't have a favorite color. I just like to keep the colors going, and they were the two colors of the same were never together. So you could have
Right.
So you
a
could
bunch
go
of
one.
them without repeating a color,
Right,
which was
right.
nice.
Not chocolate Neckos or
Yeah, they put out. Didn't they put out an all chocolate
I thought they
Necco
did.
roll wafer? Yeah,
just for the
I
people.
I think
that,
because that was a very popular flavor, so they put you could buy that all only.
and then there
or
were
the-
the
or the
black
assorted.
ones. Remember the black
Black
Neckos?
ones were very good. Yeah,
Very good. That's similar to the Sensen idea. It was good for
I think so.
to tide you over till you got your next bottle of liquor.
And don't
Yeah.
forget Pez dispensers while you're on the subject.
Ah,
Did you guys have Pez
Yes,
dispensers?
yes.
Yeah.
What
Pez-
dispensers?
Pez.
Pez.
They had little
Pez.
tiny little tablets that came in a plastic thing like a lighter, and you could kind of flip them out one at a
They're
time.
like an early
Right,
Tic
right,
Tac.
right.
Yeah.
It was. It was
Right.
When did Pez come on the market? Was it in the 50s or the
I think-
60s?
That sounds right.
Oh.
And then they
like that.
tried to remarket it, I think, more recently, but I haven't seen them in the last 20 years or so.
Would they have funny heads on them or something? It was like
Yeah.
a mouth.
Yeah.
It was the
Some of
size
them-
of a small mouth candy that you could just pop right into your mouth. You didn't have to. There was no handiwork involved. The machinery did it. You
But there-
went
I
like
think
peel
they had
me a
you-
grape.
They had different characters. I think they had a clown and
Yeah.
other heads that you could get, or just
Yeah.
plain ones, or just plain ones.
I want to say something
Yeah.
else about candy,
Yeah.
which is candy is something sweet. It's something that everybody loves, and I think that's why Terry Southern named his novel Candy.
I'm so glad you brought up Terry Southern because
Yes,
I
he
thought it
was. I just love Terry Southern as a
Yes.
person and a writer. So
yes, me too.
and the book Candy.
And when you mentioned
Yeah.
candy, that was the first thing I thought of.
I thought
Yeah.
it was an Americanization of Candide. No,
no,
It might have been.
Didn't he
I don't
write
think
it in
in
French?
it might
particular.
have been.
didn't he write it in France?
Yes,
might have.
Yes.
Yeah.
With
And it wasn't it the adventures of a good-hearted person who
a good-hearted,
Screwed
somewhat
it.
pornographically
pornographic person.
inclined person. Yeah.
Well,
Right.
I mean, candy. That's Bob Auld. Since you were, you have the widest, most expansive idea of what candy is. Do you remember the bun? Do you remember the Heath bar? Do you remember your first source of candy?
Well, in my house, it was mainly associated with holidays like Halloween. You had candy corn,
Right,
and
right,
Three
right.
Musketeers bars, and Nestle's Crunch, stuff like that.
Nestle's Crunch. Now that's a
Yeah.
rice dish.
Oh, that
really,
was
isn't it?
good.
Right.
Very
Oh, yeah.
good, and almost dietetic. I think it was.
I want to ask Maggie Maggie, are you still allergic to chocolate?
I can eat chocolate now, but I don't eat much of it because I was allergic for a long time. Why?
Because I'm a chocoholic, and
Yes.
and I probably have something chocolate every day of my life.
Really?
Oh yes, and when I was in high school, I had three friends: Danny Rifkin, Barbara Callahan, and Kathy Burns, and we were the officers of the Peaches and Cream Club. and all and because we loved chocolate, and all our honorary members were all of the kids around us who had zits. Because this was our form of being cruel, but we also loved chocolate, and I've never gotten beyond it. It just why would I want to?
No reason to, right?
And dark chocolate, I prefer dark chocolate. That's
Well, I prefer this.
Candy, why sugar candy. I'm sweet on candy, and candy he's sweet on me. He understands me. Yes, my understanding candy. My candy's always handy, just when I need sympathy. Oh, I wish that there were four of him, and I could love that much more of him. He has taken my complete heart, and I got a sweet tooth for my sweetheart. Candy, 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 candy. It's gonna be just dandy. The day that I'll take my candy and make him mine, mine, oh mine, yes, mine, oh mine. The day that I'll take my candy and make him mine. Oh, mine.
Yeah. That's Big Maybelle. The name of the song, as you might have guessed, is Candy.
Candy.
That's the subject of this show, the hour of lateral thinking. Yes. So, candy, love and candy are often very much associated, are they not? And what about arm candy? What did that?
What's
Does
that?
that have a negative meaning to you, Maggie?
Or
Arm
arm candy.
candy.
That's the woman that you have on your arm if you're a guy.
Right.
Yeah.
No objectification there.
No. Did anybody here ever choose arm candy for a date or whatever? I mean, was that no? These are all intellectual fellows here, right? How about you, Mag? Did you ever?
Right.
Girls can have it too, though. Have an arm candy,
Oh, yes.
right? Never had one.
You're asking me? No.
Just you pick a guy because he was so good looking and had to be seen with him.
You mean men and women don't like the opposite sex to be attractive?
I
Is that
don't
the
know.
idea?
I don't know what the
Right.
opposite sex is
All
anymore.
right.
I don't know if there
Okay.
is such a thing. It's a different
Well,
somebody else.
The
That
other
is an
person.
interesting question, whether that term is obsolete.
I think
In
it's
a,
what
in
arm
a
candy?
non-gendered word. No.
Yeah, opposite sex. yeah.
Opposite sex.
I think
Opposite
it
from
is.
what?
I
Yeah.
think it's
Right.
pretty obsolete.
As for arm candy, we haven't heard that in many years until now.
Well, we're hearing it now.
Thank goodness we brought it back, right?
Yes.
We brought it
Yeah,
back, right.
actually, I think we should write a song, Arm Candy.
Yes, indeed.
Good idea.
Arm
to spoil
candy.
your
I'd like to
appetite,
have
but
like to have four of you on my forearms.
Not to spoil your appetite, but I think the FLOTUS could be characterized as arm candy.
Oh yes, I think all of
Yeah.
his. Yes.
Well, all of this, yeah.
Yeah, all of me. Yes. So and candy also is. I know there's a song that Chris Cerf really hates, and I think Bob Auld really joins him in it. Even though it's my favorite singer, practically, Sammy Davis Jr., who made the song "Candyman" so famous. So candy is also
Oh, yeah.
associated with junk, isn't it? I mean, the hardcore.
Drugs.
Oh, for
drugs, I
sure.
mean. Yeah.
For sure.
I mean,
Well, Sammy Davis Jr.'s Candyman was certainly about drugs.
That's what
Yeah.
I'm talking
Yeah.
about.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm the candy man. Because the candy man can. Why is it such a terrible song? Does anybody have a musical explanation for this?
I think it's a good song, so I can't explain.
I can't explain why I don't like it so much. It just was too perky for me, I guess. Too show busy. Not real enough. It felt that way to me. No question, Sammy Davis was a huge talent,
and was very show busy.
But something annoyed me about that record I can't quite place. I think it was the lyrics more than the music.
Really? And Bob, I think, didn't like the music more than the lyrics. Am I right?
Well, I just found it kind of trite and
sure. Who could make the sunshine, whatever,
and not worthy of Sammy Davis Jr.'s talents.
Yeah. Oh, there you go. Well,
but it certainly was worthy of his bank account. Made a lot of money on that one.
Yeah, right all the way to the bank.
That's right. It did. Smack, did you say right all the way to the bank?
Cry.
Did the Candyman, was he a purveyor of smack or was he a purveyor of, I don't know, Reds? Or all of it?
No.
No, I don't know. I'm just asking. Never met a Candyman.
He was, the Candyman traveled with Puff the Magic Dragon.
Oh,
very much.
Did meet a magic dragon many times.
And Mr. not Mr. Bojangles, Mr. Tambourine Man, I guess.
Did Mr. Tambourine Man,
did
he give away a lot of candy, Reds or whatever?
I never trusted any of those guys. The hurdy-gurdy man of Donovan's, too.
Oh, right. I think, right. It was a staple of the drug culture, I think, to have candy in that.
How
way.
many of us?
Or Mr. Oh, sorry.
No,
I was just thinking, Dear Mr. Fantasy, the great Traffic song, was another one. Another drug person, drug dealer, memorialized in song.
Couldn't they think up their own word for it, not candy?
Right. They were poaching on something we all love.
That's right. Now, does everybody remember movie candy? And which, I mean, movie candy was a little different from counter candy or any kind of candy because it was a little bigger, right?
Milk
duds, a little more expensive than your normal candy, and a little more capable of pulling out your teeth.
Black Crows.
Black Crows, right? Good and plenty.
Yes.
Oh, I never liked those for some reason.
None of them are very good, but that was all you had to get it.
Juju beads.
Juju beads, another one.
Yeah,
nobody seemed to be aficionado.
Well, you could also get a Hershey bar, and
you could. I don't remember that.
Was there something with white dots on top of it?
Yes.
Yeah. What was that?
Snow something.
Oh, maybe in some places
not nonpareils.
Yes, that's what they were, nonpareils.
Oh yeah,
those
were good.
They were good, but for a candy,
they were terrific.
Bad name though.
And what about penny candy? I mean, we had down the street from me when I was growing up. It was a penny candy store.
Me too.
And that was great. Remember dots or medicine pills?
Buttons.
Yeah.
Oh man.
And Tootsie Rolls were only a penny at one point.
Oh, that's right.
Or 2 cents after a while.
And they could take your teeth out too, and you could get them
sure
at the
should
movies.
Be as good as well. Yeah.
But they didn't sell buttons at the movies, though. You had to get them at a real candy store where they sold those kind of wax sodas. Do you remember those? You bit into the top of the wax soda.
Wax bottle.
Right, and you sucked out the juice.
Was that candy or was that
no, it was like a sort of a candy.
I think I regarded it as
liquid candy. Yeah, liquid candy.
They sold it at my penny candy store.
Mine too.
Definitely mine
and
too.
lips too. Remember lips?
Lips, yes. Wax lips. Wax lips.
They
were edible.
They were edible, but you didn't really eat them, did you?
No, you put them in your...
You chewed them.
Had these big red lips.
So you put them on, and then you chewed them from the inside until they were all gone?
Yes, until they were
like
a big wad of molten wax or whatever they were. I don't think they were candy either, but they were...
There were sophisticated candies. Chocolate-covered cherries I always thought of as very sophisticated.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. But
and very good, too. Maraschino cherries.
Doesn't that come out of a candy box?
Yeah.
Yes, a candy box. It'd be very hard to get a bar.
Now, there's a candy store in Dayton, Ohio called Esther Price, which makes the most fabulous chocolate-covered cherries. Whenever I happen to be in Dayton, which isn't that infrequently, I always go to Esther Price. You know, you have these favorite places where you have
all
to
over
stop
the country.
into.
Right.
Don't
right.
they have a website? We can go to.
Yeah, I think you can have
get
them
it.
shipped.
Let's all write that
Shipped out of
down. I'm writing it
Dayton,
down.
yeah.
And as soon as this is over, even though I never eat candy, I'm going to have these. I really hate maraschino cherry candy, but what is this called?
Or you can send it when you get a box that has them, send those to me.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, the box of candy is a whole other area of thinking. I mean, buying a box is commitment, for one thing. It's more than one piece of candy.
Yeah.
And you have to choose the size. You get remember those boxes? They were always in every Woolworths and every
Whitman
Five-
samplers.
Yeah,
That's it.
Whitman samplers.
The
Yeah.
chocolate was really awful, and yet the advertising of it was so you couldn't resist it, could you? It was like 3 layers of candy, the kind
That's
that
right.
that
And when
David
you thought it was all gone, and then you discover there was a whole other
layer, right? And then you could bite into them and see which was your
No,
favorite.
didn't it say on the box lid what it was? You looked up on the lid, and it showed you what the name of each piece was and what it
Well,
contained.
Whitman samplers did that.
Yeah.
Right, it was kind of
They
like
had the whole grid layout.
kind of like instructions on how to put together your computer. What you would find in this box.
Yeah.
No,
There were
I think-
jellies and nuts.
I think a lot of towns may have their own specific candy. In Chicago, for instance, if you go into Marshall Field, they had something called, they still do, I'm sure, called Frango Mints, Frango, Frango Mints. And whenever I was in
These are
Chicago, I'd have to bring Frango Mints back for my friend Marilyn Stasio, who was just hooked on those.
What do they taste like? Frango mints?
They were sort of chocolate minty.
Oh, that sounds delicious.
They were delicious.
Well, I think David Finkle seems to be the authority on unusual American candies. I can't even imagine what you think of French and English candies.
Or Swiss.
I love if it's chocolate. I love it.
Yeah.
And L.A. has C's candies, right?
Seas,
That's
I think
another
they're
famous
in
one.
New
That's
York
right,
too.
Seas.
And they're open
That's-
for business on 8th Street, I noticed. Seas Candies.
Yeah. They
Oh,
are they?
I know. I know a nice See's shop in Palm Springs, on one of the main drags. You can go in and get your See's candies there.
What is See's candy? How do you spell that?
S-E-E apostrophe S.
S-E-E''S.
Yeah, I'm going to look them up right after this.
All
I
right.
mean, we'll be writing. And what's that, frangoponic? What's this candy? Frango Mints?
Oh, Frango
Frango
Mints.
Frango Mints? That's similar to that other candy your mother bought and hid?
No, Wilbur Buds, which you
Wilbur.
also Wilbur Buds you can also order them to be sent to you. And Wilbur Buds they're really a better Hershey Kiss. They're
And from the same state, it turns out.
right.
Yeah.
Right. Were they Now, David, you live not very far from Hershey, Pennsylvania. It must have smelled good there, didn't it?
In Hershey. Well, actually, the family visited. We visited Hershey, Pennsylvania.
Yeah, they have a whole visitor center. It's almost like
yeah.
a little theme park. that
We
you can go
stayed.
to.
Yeah, we stayed at the Hershey Hotel and went to the Hershey swimming pool, and the whole town smells like chocolate. And I think we also got a tour of the factory where we watched the conveyor belt and the chocolate go whipping by and whatever.
Now,
People adding
were they little
stuff to it.
bars or what type of?
Yeah, I don't know what we were looking at because they make a lot of stuff, not just Hershey bars.
Like what? Like
Candy kisses.
kisses?
Yeah, well, they
Candy
make the kisses, right? And they
Boy,
make some.
you got to watch those candy kisses. You can't get a piece of that metal in your teeth.
You can.
Right.
Well, if
It'll
you have
hurt.
a cavity, it's
It
not
could
so
hurt.
Yes, it hurt. It hurt like heck. That's what,
Purveyor of
Yeah, don't eat
toothpaste.
the tin foil, the aluminum foil.
Ooh,
whatever
that's
it
a
is.
bad one.
Let me ask this though.
Yeah.
Sort of to charge more money in the current climate to the last decade or more. Haven't Hershey bars gotten thinner?
Yeah, they
Seems
thin
to
it.
me
They get
Hershey was-
thinner.
I think so.
I
Yeah,
think
I
the
think so.
size of them changes.
It's a
with the-
scandal, David. It's a scandal.
Absolutely.
No, it's like the can of coffee, which is no longer a pound of coffee. It's like 12 ounces, and they
Right,
just
right. It's like anything.
charge you the same price,
get
but
less.
reduce the amount. Yeah,
In many cases, they charge you more for less.
right. More for
And,
it. Exactly.
now
That
I'm
makes
getting
sense.
that certainly does make dollars and cents.
Yeah,
and now for a little musical break to England. Guess who? Who would know everything about English candy? The Beatles. Now, did the English have the best, because they can't, in olden times, before they imported Italian cooking, they had the worst food in the world, but they seem to have always had the best desserts and candy. Is that correct? I mean, Anglophiles, speak for your candy.
Well, anybody who's seen the Great British Baking Show can.
Oh, I love that show.
Yeah.
We just watched it last night, in fact.
Really?
The new episode, yeah.
And what was the what was it that they made last night?
Oh, they made Florentines.
That's a cookie, no?
Yes, it was all baking, right? And they had to make a biscuit of their own device that looked like a dinner set of some kind, which is a totally British weird thing to do. And there was one guy on the show that keeps trying to make things that fail. And he came in second to last, so he's there for the next week. So we all have to tune in again.
Blancmange is a custard. It's not a candy, is it?
No, it's not a candy.
It's a custard.
It's a custard.
Oh, well,
Blancmange.
we're veering off the topic then. We're getting very lateral on that candy cookie custard topic. But do you have a favorite English candy?
Do
Anybody?
I?
Well, the Heath bar isn't that a English candy?
It sounds it, doesn't it?
Codberries.
The thing about the Heath bar was it's smaller looking than all the other candy bars.
Yes.
So you really have to go out of your way to get a smaller candy bar, and it better be pretty dang good because, you can get a bigger candy bar that's okay.
Well, it's a great candy bar, let's face it.
Yeah, I'll have to say it is.
What is the name of, what is that stuff called? Brittle?
Yeah, it's like a toppy
Peanut
thing.
brittle?
Oh,
Chocolate
that's good.
covered. Yeah, it's
Well,
like a brittle.
But it doesn't seem to have peanuts in it. It seems to have almonds, could it be? Is everybody an aficionado of the Heath bar? Anybody know it?
Oh, yeah,
Wasn't that a
could
big Midwestern candy, Bob? The Heath? It's a little smaller than the usual candy bar, and it's got a very fine chocolate, like a kind of Cadbury-ish chocolate. Was that the first? That was the
Well,
first?
Cadbury's is known for fine chocolate. That's
Right.
what I
Fine
know.
Yeah,
chocolate.
there you go.
Right.
Yeah.
Now, we didn't have those as a kid.
And
did
Lady
we?
Godiva, too, right? That's
Oh,
supposed to-
yes. Oh, yes.
Right.
Yes. But it used to be fancier, didn't it? The Godiva chocolate. The Godiva big plump chocolate. Truffles. What about truffles? Is that
The Savoy truffle.
Yes.
Savoy
You
truffle?
just heard it.
Right. Now, I have a question about the Savoy truffle.
Yeah.
Who wrote it, and when did it come in the Beatles?
It was on the White Album.
What? Yeah.
George
on the
Harrison
White
wrote it.
Album.
George
George
Harrison.
Harrison.
wrote it.
Oh, okay.
1968.
Okay.
And of course, the horn arrangements were by George Martin.
Okay.
That's
The
what I
fifth,
thought.
George Martin, the fifth Beatle,
Yes.
aside from Murray Kaufman.
Murray the K.
Murray the K.
Right.
But there's certain.
And Brian Epstein thought he was, too, didn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't
well.
know whether he thought of himself quite that way. He was the manager, and so he
Thought he was the big Beatle.
he made the Beatles.
Beatles.
But George Martin certainly was responsible for a lot of their greatness.
Oh,
I think we all agree.
absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely.
And in all of their oeuvre, all they had was one song about candy.
Well, it's the only one I can think of.
Yeah.
Right.
And it did refer to what we were talking about earlier. You have to have them all pulled out after the Savoy truffle, which is a lyric I've always thought was fun.
You have to have them all pulled out. Yes. Yes. Now, do you think that the fineness of the English Swede relates to their teeth, or what?
Undoubtedly,
Perhaps so. Yeah.
The two things they are famous for.
English teeth. That would be a very funny candy, wouldn't it?
Oh, yeah, they'd be like chiclets a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, speaking of which, there's gum.
Oh, indeed. We haven't even gone there.
Yeah,
that's a
bubble
whole-
gum.
that's a whole
Bubble
show.
gum.
Oh, I loved bubble gum.
Yeah,
Clear's
gum.
bubble gum.
Joe
You
Palooka.
should have known me then because I used to buy hundreds of bubblegum things for the baseball cards, and then the gum would be left over often. So
So he had a
we could have
stash.
traded, Maggie. It would have been great.
Yeah,
Yeah.
right.
Was it? It wasn't bubble gum though, was it? Or was
Yeah.
it? Bubble,
clear
bubble
gum,
gum.
yeah, definitely.
Chops had bubble gum.
Does gum count as candy? Do you think?
Well, they
candy,
sell
I
it at
think
a
gum-
candy
They
counter.
do. They sell it at
Gum
the
and
candy
candy,
counter.
yeah.
Yeah.
Remember,
Like
there was a kind of gum that was like
gumballs.
black gum. Yeah, gum.
Blackjack,
gumballs.
blackjack gum.
Blackjack gum, and
Yeah.
and
Really?
wasn't Beeman's
Yeah.
Beeman's gum.
That wasn't black, but yeah.
And
I'd like to ask how people eat certain candies. Like with M&Ms, do you bite into them or do you suck them until and just let them open up? or chocolate-covered cherries. You can bite into them and eat the cherry out, or you can put them in your mouth and let the chocolate melt. And
Do you do one sometimes and then the other another
Yeah.
time? I
Well,
mean, the
yes,
variety is
yeah,
part of the greatness.
definitely.
well, you tell us. What
That's
do
right,
you,
Bob.
Yeah, you said it.
How many maraschino? I think only one chocolate-covered maraschino cherry came in every Whitman sampler. Or really, almost every
Oh, yeah?
box of candy.
Just
yeah.
one? Not
unle-
two. Sometimes
Really?
I don't know. Maybe
Or one
you're
on
right.
each level, maybe.
Weren't
Right.
you always sorry when you got that orange peel? You know?
Right.
Oh, look at this. Whitman's. Did you buy this for me once? A sugar-
If this is a box of Whitman's sugar-free sampler, yeah. And now I featured sugar-free. I've been eating sugar-free candy for decades now, and it's done me a lot of good. But
Just-
actually, I don't even eat that anymore.
But having that box there, David, reminds
Yeah.
me that people used to save those boxes to put other things in all the time.
Yeah.
they're
sure.
keepsakes.
Yeah.
Speaking of, yeah. You would
We
use.
we haven't talked much about hard candies, which reminds me of Carol Hall's song "Hard Candy Mountain."
Carol Hall,
Aha.
another great writer.
Yeah.
And another Sesame Street to Graduate.
Oh, really?
And
There
Free
you
to
go.
Be with Marlo Thomas,
Uh-huh.
especially.
Uh-huh.
She was
She
on
wrote
that
It's
too.
All Right to Cry, which I always thought was the best Free to Be song.
Sesame candy was pretty tasty too. Do you remember those kind of sesame candy bars?
Oh, yeah.
Speaking
Sesame
of Sesame
seeds.
Street,
Yeah.
All
Sesame
something, yeah,
that
with
would
something.
seem like it'd be real good for your health, right?
You know,
would eat these.
People call each other honey, and some candy bars have honey, but it's not the most popular sweet. So you'd think
Not.
it would be one of the better ones.
That's why
'Cause
it's people mistake it as being great for your health or something. Steep
There's
that
a-
honey
I thought it
in.
was great for your health.
I don't
Now, how
think
many of
so.
us eat? How many of us eat what a great Jewish candy, halava?
Oh,
Oh,
yeah.
right. There's a
when I was a
candy
kid, we had at friend's school where I went, there was a driver who of a little minibus or a cab almost that drove a bunch of us to school every day, and he would give us that because he loved it. And we looked forward to that every afternoon.
Yeah.
Did you like the vanilla kind, the chocolate kind, or the marble kind?
Chocolate, I liked.
Chocolate halva.
Always.
That's another one that kind of combined oiliness with I don't know, deliciousness, intoxicating, don't you think?
It intoxicated me. I think we should spell it Halvah, just for
Yeah.
anybody who
Right.
just goes out to look for it. It's really.
I haven't seen it in years. But
Years.
Oh, it's around.
Can you
It's
still
around.
get it?
You don't have to
Yeah.
look that hard, Chris. We'll
Sometime-
find it.
If you went
Well,
to
I-
a Middle Eastern
I'm going to take my
grocery-
almond joy, which I like even better, but I'll try a halva too.
Oh yeah. If you go to a Middle Eastern fine foods place or any kind of food, they usually have it in big blocks like pound cake, right? And they
Halava?
take
Yep.
yes, and they
Yeah.
take a slice off,
Yeah.
like a big slice of bread.
As I recall, it came in a little package with a man with a turban on it.
Yes.
At least one brand, yeah.
And here's another one. This, I mean, I defer to the person who summered in Atlantic City, but it was the Bonomo Turkish Taffy bar.
Oh, yeah.
Remember
Yeah.
those?
Hmm.
Chocolate, vanilla, and strawberry.
absolutely, yeah.
And
Yeah,
that was the sponsor of some kids show. I can't remember
That's
which,
right.
but I always remember it being advertised and wanting it, and my parents were never getting it for me.
They wouldn't get it for you. You had to learn to get it yourself.
Well, I never had it because I expected people to give me these candies.
Oh, right. One could last you a lifetime, you know? It was really hard to eat.
Yeah.
The taffy
Took a
on
while.
the boardwalk. It comes in back to me, I think correctly, Freilingers.
Ah, that's
Freilingers.
right,
so,
right.
yeah.
And it was right across from the Steel Pier, or very close.
Yeah.
They were all over, weren't they? Every kind of block.
Well, the one I knew was the one on the boardwalk near the Steel Pier, and then you just watch that candy, the taffy puller, and get mesmerized by it. And then
Yeah.
you'd go in and you'd buy, and it was very close to the Mr. Peanuts store, which
Yes.
they're
Right.
peanuts. They're not a candy, but
No.
but peanuts go very well with
In
with
candy.
saltwater taffy.
I think
The Snickers bar has peanuts in it, doesn't it? You know that this-
Yeah.
Sure.
let's hear this story of this Snickers
No, I just
bar.
learned this. I did a little research, and I found out that the Snickers bar is named after the manufacturers. There was a married couple, and they invented the Snickers bar, and they had a horse named Snickers who died 2 months before they launched this candy bar, and they named it Snickers in honor of their horse.
Possibly from eating their recipe.
The
It
Snickers
was a
bar.
memorial candy bar.
Yeah, that's right.
I wonder if Rosemary Clooney was referring to Snickers bars when she sang this.
Come on to my house, I'm gonna give you candy. Come on to my house, I'm gonna give you apple, a plum, and a apricot too. Come on to my house, come on. Come on to my house, come on. Come on to my house, I'm gonna give you figs and dates and grapes and cakes. Come on to my house, come on. Come on to my house, come on. Come on to my house, I'm gonna give you candy. Come on to my house, I'm gonna give you everything. Come on to my house, I'm gonna give you Christmas tree. Come on to my house, I'm gonna give you marriage ring and a pomegranate too. Come on to my house, come on. Come on to my house, come on. Come on to my house, I'm gonna give you peach and pear and I love your hair. Come on to my house, come on. Come on to my house, come on. Come on to my house, I'm gonna give you Easter egg. Come on to my house, I'm gonna give you everything, everything, everything. Come on to my house.
Ah, the great Rosemary Clooney. And her least favorite song, I think. Come on to my house.
Really?
She was wrong about it, yes.
It was like Mitch Miller or somebody
Yeah.
told her she had to sing this or something.
Right.
Yeah, she demurred, and he said, "Well, okay, but if you don't show up for the recording session, you're fired."
Yeah, right.
So she did it.
And of course, the amazing thing about that song, as I mention every time I hear it, is that William Saroyan was the co-author
Right.
with his cousin Ross Bagdasarian, who later went on to be David Seville of Alvin and the Chipmunks fame. So that song has a weird history,
Really, really.
but it's very funny. It really is funny.
The Chipmunks bar. Oh, that would have been another name for a candy bar. Anybody have a name for a great candy bar to come?
Well, there's one called the Whatchamacallit bar. That's one of the top 20 candy bars. I never heard of it. But I found a list of top 20 candy bars, and there's one called the Whatchamacallit bar.
What year is that from?
I don't know when.
What else is on the list? All the obvious ones.
Zagnut. Zagnut?
They say, no, it isn't. Zagnut is not there, and the Clark bar is not there, which is the same bar, except one has coconut and the other doesn't. Kit Kat, the number 3 most famous candy bar.
A very good bar.
That's a good one.
Originally
Very
called the Townsend
cookie,
Chocolate
really.
Crisp.
The what?
And it was called somebody's Chocolate Crisp. and people called it the Kit Kat bar, and it was a much better name. Take
So
5.
We haven't talked about Swiss chocolate and Dutch chocolate.
Yep.
You know, countries that are known for their chocolate.
Brazilian
right.
chocolate.
Brazilian.
I found some Brazilian. Yeah, I brought from Brazil. I brought you some chocolate bars.
Oh.
And I found the wrappers around here recently. I couldn't bear to throw them away. They seemed so luxurious. Brazilian chocolate, almost as good as their underpants.
And
What?
a great place to buy it. I think they're still in New York. Why don't I know that they absolutely are? The Maison de Chocolat.
Oh, oui, oui.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
C'est ça.
They left Wall Street, but they're up there Midtown, yeah.
They're still there. I used to get me a box of those for every birthday.
Yes.
What happened?
They moved.
They moved from Wall Street. That's
No,
right.
they're online. You can go to there if you want.
Barry, you can tell an excellent
Maison de Tom, whatever,
You can tell an excellent chocolate from a Hershey bar, and yet, what is more popular?
Hershey bar, but the Hershey bar's secret is it's a milk chocolate, and the first when he invented it, it soured the milk, and Hershey bars have this slightly sour taste. Now they can get rid of that, but they don't want to because that's what distinguishes a Hershey bar is it has a slightly sour taste to it, and they don't want to remove it. There you have it.
And that was
You're
the
right.
secret of Bennett Cerf's columns.
That's
That
right.
slightly sour taste.
Exactly. He was famous for that. Yeah.
My friend Enid
Acerbic
Futterman.
wit.
I have a friend named Enid Futterman who wrote a book about. It was really a love story about chocolate, but in it she gives chocolate recipes, I think. But she also gives the names of several great chocolate stores around Paris. And one trip, I went to every one of them and had chocolate there. So I owe Enid Futterman this great gratitude, a great deal of thanks for that.
Did you eat them all on the same day?
No, I didn't eat them on the same day, but I met 2 or 3 of them on the 2 or 3 of them on the same day. They were just great places to go because Paris is also wonderful for chocolate.
Very good chocolate.
Yeah.
Yes. Do we have a reigning place for the greatest chocolate any longer? Where do you get the best? At Maison, I think. Huh?
It's really up to anybody's taste, I would say. It's hard to choose a best among them all.
Up to our taste, huh? Well, what?
That's why he has to sample them all.
Is there a candy anybody is thinking about right now that they want to rush out after this is over and munch on? Or
I'm gonna rush out for M&Ms. I just have
Really?
a sudden because I can pour them into a bowl
Now
and then I can just keep eating from that bowl.
Do you ever eat the ones with peanuts in them, or do you or almonds or whatever they have, or just a plain?
I like a plain M&M myself.
the real M&M. What color though?
Oh, well, what I like to do is pull them out and see what kind of combination colors I've gotten.
They can melt if you're not careful when you do
Well,
that.
they melt in your mouth, not on
Get
your
on your
fingers.
hand.
Well, if you're lucky.
Remember how rock bands used to tell, or people backstage contracts would say only the green M&Ms or no green M&Ms, or
right.
only chocolate M&Ms, brown M&Ms. No.
You know why they did that, though?
Yeah,
That was to make sure that they read the contract. Because a lot of these people didn't bother to read the contract, and if the rock band went in there and found all kinds of colored M&Ms, they knew that they were not paying attention to other safety requirements that the band wanted, like no flammable stage equipment, whatever, curtains that don't burst into flames and stuff like that. So that was just one of their things they wanted was no chocolate M&Ms or no brown or whatever.
It's kind of consumer protection to have a specific. Yeah, good.
Maybe they did read the contracts and figured out we're not going to sit around pulling out green M&Ms. The hell
maybe
with them.
We want to get rid of this band anyway.
Nobody else.
Anybody else? What? Last chance for a chocolate punch. Okay.
All righty.
You have been. Am I missing my cue here? You've been listening? Am I
think
saying
you've been
this
listening
right?
is right.
You've been
Well, I
listening?
heard the end theme.
heard the end
Anybody
theme.
else? Okay.
Yeah.
Bob,
Is it playing? There it is. You've been listening to the Hour of Lateral Thinking. On this show, you heard us with Chris Cerf, David Finkle, and Maggie Paley discuss candy.
This program originates from 5 neighborhoods in New York.
In one of them, our audio engineer and musical perpetrator is Bob Auld, with special thanks to Big Maybell, the Beatles, Rosemary Clooney. You can email us at catradiocafe@gmail.com. I'm Janet Coleman.
I'm David Dozer.
The Displaced Playwright.
This has been a production of Cat Radio Cafe.
The feline's favorite radio empire.
And remember our slogan.
Cat's chest shoe. Excuse me. Cat's.
Don't forget our slogan, everyone. Our slogan is...
Oh, this is our slogan. Cats chase after the candy wrapper, not the candy. And you should too.